Now, let's continue the intriguing yet exciting history of Porsche and the men behind its success in the automotive world. But before we start, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and tap the bell button so you won't miss any of our videos. In 1933, when Adolf Hitler took over as Germany's leader, he became very interested in cars. He invited the best engineers, including Porsche, to share his idea. Hitler wanted a car that every German family could afford, something that would be cheap, save on gas, and fit 5 people. He set a price goal of 990 Reichsmarks, which most experts thought was impossible. He called this idea the Volkswagen, meaning people's car. Porsche's design won the project. Hitler needed Porsche's creativity to make this car real, while Porsche got the support he needed to keep his business going. In 1934, Porsche and his team began working on what would later become the famous Volkswagen Beetle. The Volkswagen Type 1, later known as the Beetle due to its rounded shape, was a small two-door vehicle with a rear engine that cooled naturally. This design kept upkeep simple and made the car easier to steer because of its balanced weight. It also stood out for its excellent fuel efficiency, achieving 31.4 miles per gallon. With 300,000 orders lined up, this was Porsche's biggest success so far, and he was excited to see it hit the roads. However, as the Volkswagen plant was preparing to produce the car on a large scale, major global events unfolded that would take Porsche's career in a challenging new direction. In September 1939, after Hitler invaded Poland, Britain and France declared war on Germany, starting World War II. This caused the Beetle production to stop immediately, and the Volkswagen factory switched to making military supplies. As one of the top engineers in Germany and a close ally of Hitler, Porsche got involved in creating military vehicles and weapons. He designed off-road military cars, including the Schwimmwagen, a military version of the Beetle, the Elephant tank destroyer, and the V-1 flying bomb. Even though Porsche was one of Hitler's favorite engineers, he struggled to meet the dictator's expectations for tank designs. There was a competition to win the contract to produce the Tiger, a heavy tank for the war. Porsche created the Ferdinand, a hybrid tank that ran on gasoline and electricity. Unfortunately, its complex design caused many problems, and the prototype failed during tests. Porsche found himself in a tough spot after losing the competition to Henschel and Son. He had already built 100 chassis for the Ferdinand before submitting his design. To use his work, the Germans turned 90 of these tanks into tank destroyers, renaming them Elephant anti-tanks. Although these vehicles performed well in battle, their engine and mobility problems led to many breaking down and losing during fights. Then, it was found out later that the Porsche company used forced labor in its factory in Stuttgart during World War II. Initially, the company denied these allegations. However, they later admitted their involvement after many former workers came forward. In response, Porsche has donated millions of euros to support the victims of forced labor. Despite collaborating with the Nazis, Ferdinand Porsche did not fully support their ideology. He paid little attention to the SS rank he received from the Nazi Party and focused on expanding his business and fulfilling government contracts, despite their cruel practices. As a result of his efforts, Porsche's profits surged from 3,000 Reichsmarks in 1934 to over 2 million by 1944. After the war, the French government arrested Ferdinand Porsche and imprisoned him for war crimes due to his SS ties and close association with Hitler. With him in prison, his son, Ferry Porsche, stepped up to lead the company in a new direction. Ferry shared his father's passion for machines and engineering. He had already created several vehicles, including the Schwimmwagen, designed to work on land and in water. This vehicle was very useful for German soldiers during the war. However, Ferry was arrested alongside his father and spent several months in prison. The French government eventually released him and gathered funds to bail his father out. Ferry signed a contract with the Italian car company Cisitalia to raise money and develop the advanced Cisitalia 360. Unfortunately, due to financial issues and changes in race regulations, it never competed on the track. Fortunately, Ferry received his payment in advance, which allowed him to free his father after 22 months in prison. Sadly, the poor conditions in which Ferdinand was held led to lasting health problems that troubled him for the rest of his life. With Ferdinand unable to return to work, Ferry took charge of the company and began to apply his father's ideas. He noticed that Cisitalia made small sports cars using Fiat engines and considered doing something similar with Volkswagen parts. Ferry met with the Volkswagen managing director and secured a deal to use their parts and distribution network. He also provided documents showing that the Volkswagen Beetle had been developed by his father before the war, convincing Volkswagen to agree to pay a licensing fee for each Beetle they produced. These negotiations demonstrated that Ferry was a talented engineer and a savvy businessman. Most importantly, the agreements with Volkswagen provided the funds for the Porsche company to experiment and create its vehicles. In 1948, Ferry introduced the first car to carry the family name, the Porsche 356. The Porsche 356 was a small two-door car with a Volkswagen air-cooled engine that allowed it to reach a top speed of 87 miles per hour. While it wasn't the strongest or fastest vehicle, Ferry Porsche focused on improving its performance and driving experience. That same year, he took the car to a race in Innsbruck, Austria, where it claimed first place, laying the groundwork for Porsche's future racing success. Although initial sales were not high, the 356 gained popularity among car lovers, including Ferry's father, who took pride in his son's work. Ferdinand Porsche visited the Volkswagen factory one last time in 1950 and was delighted to see his ideas for the Beetle coming to fruition. Unfortunately, he passed away just a year later at 75. Following his death, the Porsche 356's sales took off after winning a race at Le Mans in 1951. New models like the 356 Speedster and Carrera quickly attracted the attention of sports car enthusiasts and celebrities. Even though the 356 was popular, it remained a tweaked version of the Beetle with minimal alterations. Customers started to lose interest in its design, leading to a desire for a completely new model that still embodied the essence of Porsche. This demand was fulfilled when one of Ferry's sons launched an innovative vehicle to elevate the Porsche brand to greater success. Ferdinand Alexander Porsche, like his father, Ferry, was involved in the car industry from a young age. However, he was more interested in design than engineering and considered himself a skilled craftsman. After training in the body design department at Porsche, he took on the challenge of creating a new line of cars and started working on one of the most iconic sports cars, the Porsche 911. The 911 was a significant upgrade from the 356, featuring a powerful six-cylinder boxer engine instead of the earlier four-cylinder. With its engine positioned at the back, this car had a balanced weight distribution, which improved its handling and speed. These features made the driving experience incredibly smooth, setting it apart from other vehicles. Remarkably, more than 70% of all 911s ever produced are still on the road today. The Porsche 911 was launched in September 1964 and quickly became the company's top-selling model. Porsche released even faster versions with increased horsepower to keep up with customer demands, such as the 911 Carrera S and 911 Turbo. By the 1970s, sales had soared to over 20,000 units each year. The 911 also made its racing debut at the 1965 Monte Carlo Rally, finishing in a respectable fifth position. Porsche continued to improve the 911's performance over the next few years, achieving 3 straight wins at the Monte Carlo Rally between 1968 and 1970. The car also excelled in various racing competitions all over the world, earning its place as one of the most successful race cars ever. Unfortunately, Ferry Porsche chose to step back from his role at the company. None of his sons wanted to take over, so the family council divided the company's shares and brought in new leadership, ending the family's direct involvement. Despite this change, Porsche continued to innovate, releasing sportier vehicles that solidified its reputation as a leading brand in the sports car market. However, difficult times were ahead, prompting the company to make a crucial decision for its survival. In 1986, a significant drop in the value of the dollar and rising production costs caused serious issues for Porsche. By 1991, sales had fallen to 23,000 units, half of what they had sold 5 years earlier. The company faced losses of 240 million Deutsche Marks, and by the end of 1993, it was struggling to sell around 14,000 cars a year. Porsche was in a tough spot and needed to act quickly to remain viable. To turn things around, Porsche boldly announced its plan to enter the SUV market. At that time, SUVs were becoming very popular and were even outselling regular cars in the US by 1999. However, this decision faced significant backlash, as Porsche had consistently been recognized for its high-quality sports cars. The idea of creating a family-oriented SUV marked a major shift, especially since it would be their first vehicle with 4 doors. Despite the concerns, Porsche launched the Cayenne in 2002, and to everyone's surprise, it became their best-selling model and a favorite among customers. While it looked different, the Cayenne still provided the strong performance and reliability that Porsche fans cherished. Its luxurious interior and comfort helped the company recover from its financial challenges. Today, the Cayenne and, more recently, the Macan account for over 70% of Porsche's sales in the US and are regarded by many as some of the sportiest SUVs available. Despite this success in the SUV market, Porsche has maintained its connection to its sports car heritage. Porsche is currently part of the Volkswagen Group and continues to be recognized as one of the leading luxury car brands globally. For more exciting videos like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click the notification button to stay updated on the latest.